Five, four, three, two, one. And we're back, mate. Cost of awareness, part two. What else is it going to be called? We don't know yet, do we? Where we're going to, well, we got a vague idea where we're going to go and what we want to talk about. However, welcome back to the sanctum, man.
Thank you.
Welcome back to the helm.
Yeah.
Sitting at the helm in the sanctum.
Oh, it's so good in here now. Like
Yeah.
we've got a few upgrades.
Few upgrades. We've got
Yeah.
shells in there. Good video again. I don't know whether the people are going to like that, but everyone else is doing it. So we thought we better do that as well.
Oh, yeah, mate, it's past due.
Yeah, it's a bit
I'll be,
much.
I'll be like, why don't you do this? Like, yeah, why haven't you done this ages
Oh,
ago?
because,
It's like,
well,
don't,
cost of awareness, man.
oh,
The reason I didn't do
yeah.
it is I didn't feel comfortable on camera. Whereas now I have the awareness within
Ah,
myself,
yeah,
right, to be comfortable with a camera on me.
right.
My self, my body, and my feelings about myself, I'm okay now. If I'm on camera now, I'm cool with it.
So we're talking about the cost of awareness, right?
Yes.
You know, what is fear? What is the basics of fear? It's the unknown, right?
Yes.
Things that are unknown to us.
Yes. Very much
You
so.
know, whether it's like self judgment or something else, like
Mm.
doing something that you're not familiar with. And we're all creatures of habit.
Yes.
And we like to get in these routines and stay in these routines.
Mm.
But it's not until you do something new and something different, then that becomes the new familiar and the fear disappears.
Yes. The fear. Well, look, I used to think about fear and this sort of dating my mannerisms a little bit. That's that chord. There's just a knocking sound there. I might fix that in a second. Uh, I used to talk about fear in a class as like, think about fear in most cases, it's irrational, right? I used to use the description that was like the ice wall in Game of Thrones. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's fear. Massive
Yeah.
wall,
Yeah. Okay.
all, you know what I mean? Dragons on the top, right? But as with most fears, there's a gate underneath
Mm,
and you just walk through the tunnel
hmm
and everything's fine,
hmm
right? It doesn't actually, how many things that you're afraid of actually come true, or the things, you know, fears, silly stuff like, oh, I can't do that. I'm terrified of doing that. And then you do it and it means nothing. It was nothing,
Yeah.
right? I think in a lot of cases, fear is an illusion. You know, what's the Anonymous thing? Face everything and rise, right? Let go of fear, face everything and rise is
Oh,
the
okay.
catch cry there. Uh, Fear's a funny one, man, because I think a lot of fears are irrational, and my experience tells me that a lot of fears are based in self worth.
Yeah, absolutely. Or judgment. Think you can't actually know what other people are thinking,
No, you can't.
but you think you do.
Yeah. It, and who really cares, man? I think it's funny we start with fear. Doing this, right? Putting this studio together, uh, implementing the lessons in and through my body, and then rebuilding my body. I've let go of so much fear, but then when you let go of fear, what you see is people are still so ruled by it. You know what I
Mm.
mean? That's
Yep.
one thing that shocked me because if you can release it and you can let go and you can sit back and say, you know what, I don't. It's not that I'm not scared anymore. It's that I don't care, right? Because caring takes a lot of energy, and I'd,
Mm.
I'd rather not. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's
There's a really good book out there, like The Art of Not Giving a Fuck.
yeah, the subtle art of not
Yeah,
giving a
that's it.
fuck. I've got it somewhere. Yeah,
Yeah.
I've read that. Mark Norman or whatever he's yeah.
Yeah, that's actually what we're missing from this room. All your books have disappeared.
Well, there's a few select ones that and there'll be rotations. There'll be stuff rotating through. I haven't finished with obviously, we've got massive purple space, above your head and above my head. What are we actually going to do with that space? I'm not sure yet. I will get some more pictures up there. However, Yeah, we have got the fan on in the background, and that cable is beginning to annoy me.
Right.
Uh, I tell you what, let's just pause for 2 seconds because we have the ability, mate. We
We
are
can pause and come back.
welcome to 2025, and we're back. Thank you for the awareness that that noise was going to drive me crazy for the next 2 hours. Okay,
You had to do it.
I had to do it because that's all I
Yeah.
would hear. That clunk. It's just the fan rotating in the background. The cable was caught. So I appreciate that, mate. But yeah, fear is such a fascinating one. I if it was one thing that because we didn't realize because you're obviously here for the Rome wasn't built in a day when we
Yeah.
the paint was still
Absolutely.
wet, right?
Yeah.
Basically,
Yeah.
it's a few months after that, and I didn't realize the cost of awareness where we went last time, and we talked a lot about the stuff that I've processed since then.
Last time when we did part one,
Mm,
cost of awareness,
mm.
it was before the room started.
It was still blue in here, wasn't it? We were
Yep.
feeling the couches.
Yeah. And we discovered that you hated the color blue and you had, I think, was it a red chair? And you reckon
Oh, the red rug.
you had this
Blue and
theory.
red make purple.
You had this,
Yeah,
yeah, you had this theory that it was making purple,
yeah.
and there was nothing purple in this room.
Not a single thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you've just undone like 15 years worth of lack of purple in your life.
Oh, I love it, man. I love it. It's fantastic. And it's yeah. And look, I'm also freed from my working from home job since the last time we sat down and
Yep.
spoke.
How's that going?
It's amazing. It's such a blessing.
You breathing in the freedom?
Oh man, I can't even that job. See that? I mean, I had that since COVID, man. Right?
Yeah.
That's the job that kept the roof over our heads during COVID.
Yeah.
So for 4 years, every day, I got up, walked to the shed, and listened to white card training, whether it be delivering a class or
Yeah.
doing a
And
you've
doing
been
it on autopilot.
and look, yeah, it's fascinating. And I had no idea the like it's a little scary. I'm in a bit of a transition period right now. I've got a few
Mm.
things on the go, and I'm diversifying. And I need, but the thing is, I needed to do that right because of the who I am, and that provided for my family. I would have done that,
Mm. Yeah.
and so the universe said move. However, the relief, man. Oh, dude, I've slept better in the last 4 weeks than I have in ages. I didn't realize how much I was hanging on. And just coping mechanisms, And look, the show started. I haven't actually released an episode since I did the UAP one, but live, right? Because for every single day that I came up here, when I was finally released, I didn't want to come up here anymore. Like
Yeah.
I had to come here every day.
Mm.
And I used the studio and everything in the shed to distract myself from the purgatory that I was being a part of. Right. It really did feel like,
Purgatory. It's
yeah,
a strong word.
it's a dead set. Like when I got released from it after the shock of the
Yeah.
contract ending abruptly, just the weight that fell off me that I didn't have to do that anymore. Right. Because one of my pet hates is doing the same thing over and over and over again. Like it drives me crazy. And I literally did that for 4 years over and over and over and over. And it just never ended, man. But the cost of awareness that has come since then, it's like the download stream opened up, brother. Like I can't even talk to you. Like it's like all the things that were waiting to drop in. Now that I've freed my,
Mm.
the data stream, right? So a percentage of my data stream was taken up with trying to survive that job, right? That's now gone, and just and the reason I say purgatory, man, is I literally felt like a released prisoner.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
no other way to
I know
put
the
it.
feeling. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Literally
Yeah.
felt like a released prisoner.
Yeah.
And it's like I've seen the sun for the first time. But because I had to come up here every single day, I've actually just walked out of this. I'll come up here and work out. I'll come up here and potter. But I'm like, I actually don't want to be in here because I don't have to be, whereas I had to be for so long. year after year after year. Yeah.
I felt relief from both ways. Like, so going from working for yourself, then going to have a job and getting paid every week.
Yeah.
Don't have to chase a client for
Yeah.
money. You just get paid for
Yeah.
doing a job,
Yeah.
right? And that money, like, is just like there in your account
Mm,
when you need it to pay your bills.
mm,
But then, and that's a kind of relief.
mm.
But then, yeah, it's also a sacrifice on your personal self as well, like what you're entangled with.
I think as well, like you talk about awareness and reflection. So when I was delivering white card classes, I was literally staring at my own reflection because I'm
Yeah,
in a Zoom
true.
class.
Yeah,
I'm literally looking at myself, literally, right?
nice.
And
Right.
in 4 years, if I said to you I delivered over 500 white card classes, that's not enough,
Mm.
but it's over 500. And not only over 500, that means over 500 times I said pretty much the exact same thing every time I did that.
Yeah.
It was like a spiel that I had, right? But that intense introspection and undeniable reflection caused me to grow in ways that I guess I'm only 4 weeks out. You know what I mean?
Or when you unentangle from those things that are adding weight on your life, just the real you starts coming out.
Yeah.
Like the natural you is full of positive vibrations.
Mm.
You've just like it's like carrying a bucket of muddy water around. And then, when you don't have to do that anymore and you've got this nice crystal clear water flowing in your bucket and
Yeah.
overflows, all the mud just goes away.
Well, it's like
And
how I used to describe it as eating a shit sandwich,
there you go.
right? It's like every day I'd get up and I'd have to eat a shit sandwich, and I'd have to find a different way to eat that shit sandwich. You know what I mean? There's only so many ways that you can do that. And I think if we talk about awareness and what's coming to me now is basically for anyone that's out there that's doing something that they truly hate and it's weighing them down, contemplate a way out, right? Contemplate a way out of whatever it is you're doing because the universe will move you if you need to be moved.
Mm.
And it's better to do it without the universe giving you a shove.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I don't learn like
Oh, yeah.
that.
I could
Unfortunately, I need the universe to go,
I could
hey,
see that. I
move.
probably said somewhere along the line is like you're going to be kicked out of that anyway.
Yeah.
Like it's going to crash.
Look, I quit a year ago, man. They just figured it out.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, right. Cut the cords.
Yeah. But but in the last year, it set me up. Like again, I'm very grateful for that job and it kept a roof over my head and everything moving forward. However, the freedom in diversification that I'm now seeing and feeling is well, it's going to bring UTC3 was attached to that job, right? In a way, because that was the UTC3 was the focus, the other thing that I could focus on and not have to do, not have to truly think about the fact that I had to do the same thing every day, right? So now with Angus coming out the other night, we recorded an episode, recording one tonight. I've got another one in the bag. I can UTC is coming back in its pure form because I don't have to be here. It's not the only thing that happens in this shed now. The shed is now re-establishing itself as my sanctuary.
You're saying that like this is a passion project for
Yes.
you,
Yes.
but before it could have been seen as an escape
Absolutely.
from the mundane.
It was. Yeah.
Like, but now it's more in its pure form. It's back to being a purely a passion project,
Yes.
something that you want to do,
Yes.
but it's not a part of escapism from the other crap.
Yeah. Because look, I'm diversifying and doing a few different things. I'm looking forward to that. However, I'm not going to be in the house as much. Because the other thing is too that I never really left the property for 4 years. Right. That's the reality. Okay. Didn't talk to anyone.
Yeah.
Um, and the only reason that that worked is because I'm a little crazy. Um, it is like that's the only reason. Well, it's the same reason that I can work FIFO and be okay with it.
Yeah.
Right? I'm okay being by myself in the middle of nowhere. However, yeah, I mean, talk about cost of awareness. I'm having to relearn how to drive in traffic because the last 4 weeks I've actually been out and about. I never used to be
Wow.
out and about. You know what I mean? Like I've got to drive places and go to things and go to interviews and talk to people and it's as I say, that's why like it's a released prisoner, right?
Yeah.
Because I was in this box for the last 4 years. I've been released from that box, and I'm literally in a lot of ways having to reintegrate into larger society, which is cool. It's interesting, and yeah, and again, I'm re-entering society without so much fear. You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
like there would be times in the past because as a trainer and assessor, this happens to you, man. You will go to work on Friday and you don't have a job anymore, and you haven't.
Because of AI.
Yeah, well, you haven't, and yeah, you haven't necessarily done anything.
No.
It's just
Okay.
a contract's run out, or
Yeah.
that's how it happens, man. And that's
Yeah.
happened to me half a dozen times, right? And I just, yeah, I feel so much. It's like all the lessons, the integration, bringing it through my body into the 3 dimensional existence. Yeah, it's like,
When you first told me and you told me why, it's like AI's replaced me
mm,
pretty much.
pretty much.
I was, my thought process was straight away feel sorry for you.
Mm.
And it's cool to hear the other side of it
Mate, it's been a blessing,
because, yeah, a lot of people could have just focused on the negatives of that
mate.
situation and be angry about it.
Yeah. Oh, look, a few days after, I definitely got angry just because, I'd worked pretty much full time for that place for 4 years. And to be given one day,
Mm-hmm.
that's it, one day
Mm.
after 4 years, um, definitely sucked. However, as I say, when it happened, the overwhelming initial emotional response was freedom. Like, thank fuck. Like, honestly. And I didn't realize how much I was carrying that and carrying it and using, I think if we want to talk about awareness, it's only until you step out of something that you see the coping mechanisms you had in place to deal with it. And my new awareness of how I actually deal with my own coping mechanisms. I think because I could see it. I'm like, oh, you were doing this because of this, and you couldn't sleep because you didn't want to get up and do the same thing over and over again. So you forced yourself to sleep, and you know what I mean. Like there was so many things that were coping mechanisms to deal with just the repetitive nature of what I was doing, and a lot of them didn't serve me, right? And I think there's a conversation to be had there about things that don't serve you, right? If I rewind the clock, we talk about UTC, original UTC, Quest for Self with Franco. There was a question that we implored everyone to ask themselves: does this serve me? What I'm doing, how I'm feeling, how I'm acting. If you can pause and say, does this serve me? You will get an answer. It may not be the answer you want, unfortunately. However, you will get an answer. And if you can either trust that answer or not. However, if you ask that question of yourself honestly, then your higher self will drop in and give you that answer, you know? And I think we get wrapped up in a lot of, again, fear. Everything's based in fear, and fear for a lot of men is based in anger, right? It's like a Johnny Depp. There's a Johnny Depp thing, and obviously, he's in the back of a limousine, and he's like, I'd rather not hate. It takes too much energy, and I'd rather not. Now,
Mhm.
obviously, being Johnny Depp's a lot different to being me. However, the spirit of that, when I over the past 18 months, if I sat with my all the negative anger and all the negative emotions that you can fuel. When I got released from that position, it's something released in me. And it's like, you know what? I don't have time for negative emotion because it costs a lot of energy and I'd rather not. I would rather peace and love. Go fuck yourself is totally still on the table. However, I would rather peace and love because, there's a Bill Burr bit that's echoes as well. It's like, you may as well pretend everything's going to be okay because and even if it's not, what are you going to do about it? Right?
Hmm.
There's no point ruining right now, pretending that things aren't okay. And these are cliche things. But again, brother, it's the simple things that are the most effective, isn't it? You know what I mean? Like the grand epiphanies that you've had in your kundalini and all the awakenings, they're so simple.
Yeah.
You know,
Simple process
simple
goes a long
process.
way.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Simple.
Yeah.
Yeah, less is more.
Yeah. Just breathe and
Yeah.
be cool and you'll be okay. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
that's very simple. But if you actually just applied that, you know,
Hmm.
I suppose here's a question. How do we communicate to the good listeners? How would they go about identifying things that don't serve them? Well, number one's ask yourself the question.
Oh, it's definitely an internal process. I
Yeah.
mean, and your emotions is a compass,
Yes.
like how you feel,
Mm,
just becoming aware of how you feel in it from moment to moment
mm,
in doing like every situation. So, like you're being asked to do something, can you feel like you're making a sacrifice?
mm.
You're not truly devoted to that thing,
This
making a
is what I wanted to talk
sacrifice.
about. Yes.
Yeah,
Keep
yeah.
going.
Yeah, I thought we'd come back to that. Just
Yeah.
planting a seed for later.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So if you if you are sacrificing your energy, like, well, that is an energy drain right there.
Mm.
And
Well, again, if you are perceiving it as a sacrifice, the very meaning of sacrifice means you are sacrificing yourself, which is your
right.
time, your energy, your being.
Yeah, so there's like two things you can do. You can change your perception of it,
Yes.
and so that you can make it serve you
Mm.
just by being the master of your own mind.
And so it's sacrifice, but you turn
Yeah.
it to devotion.
And yeah, yeah, that's right. Well, practicing gratitude around it, because nothing is for nothing. You will learn something or get something out of every situation. You find a pot of gold
Yes,
somewhere.
absolutely.
There's a
Yeah.
silver lining.
Well, look,
Everything's a lesson
everything
if you
is a
look at
lesson.
it that way.
Yeah, you go back to the corny things. You're either winning or you're
Yeah.
learning.
Or you can let it go.
Or
They're your options. Change your perception or let it go.
do you know what, man? Let it go. Like when my girls were younger, I could have done a one man Frozen show. Like I've watched Frozen so many times. You got no idea.
Oh, that's devotion.
That was devotion to those little fairies because they wanted to
Yeah.
sit up with dad and watch Frozen, and that's fine. I did that. However, there's the song Let It Go, right?
Hmm.
And then there's this other thing out of Frozen where it's like, don't make any decisions when you're scared or mad or stressed,
Oh, okay. That's
right?
good.
And both of those things are very valuable.
So much wisdom in kids'
Kids'
cartoons
cartoons,
sometimes, and
yeah.
it's over their head, but
Yeah, it's
planting
over there.
little seeds.
It's planting little seeds, exactly. How do you let shit go?
How
Hmm.
process it? I think like actually processing this situation
Mm,
is a way of letting it go. Like
mm,
for me, I think it could be a personal thing.
mm-hmm.
Everybody's different, and not everybody. Some people can just let shit go. They're
Mm.
pretty fluid. Like life just flows through you. It tends to be the higher your vibration is, like the more you're in gratitude, um, it's easier to let things go.
Yes.
And having the mindset that when something goes wrong, that's because the universe is giving me something better. It's a mindset.
This is a good point as well. So if you are stuck in a negative mind loop, and I think everybody here can understand that, right? If you're stuck in a negative mind loop, your ability to make rational decisions is compromised, right?
Yeah.
I had an epiphany. I don't know whether we talked about this last time, so it was actually since then. And this is particularly for men and people who feel rage. Okay. Now, men, we know, you know, I know, most of the men know that are listening to this, the rage that is deep inside, right? Everyone knows that blind rage.
Yeah.
Now, two things. I don't have that blind rage anymore. Okay. And you can ask me about that if you like. However, one of the last pieces that dropped in to help me let go of the rage or and then assist me if it rears its head. Because the term was blind rage, right? Rage
Yeah.
makes you blind.
Yeah.
Not only does it make you blind, it makes you deaf and dumb.
Mm-hmm.
You can neither see, hear, or feel anything if you are in rage,
That's true. Yeah.
right? You can't. And if you can identify, like I said, deaf, dumb, and blind is
Yeah.
what rage does to me.
Identify how you ended up in that situation and
Yeah,
now how can I avoid it?
yeah.
Change your environment.
And most rage is not most. Most is a different. A lot of rage is self-imposed,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it's you either being scared. Okay, come back to fear, or it's you being angry at yourself and projecting it upon somebody else to a degree, or it could be rage in an injustice or a situation that has happened to you that was not cool.
Yeah.
And
I think for guys, like you have to be tough in society.
yes,
And
well, we're allowed to be men
fear,
again. Thank you.
fear is a weaker vibration, a weaker emotion
Mm.
than being angry. Being
Yes.
angry is easier
Mm.
because you can still not blind rage, but if you're just angry, you can still feel like a sense of control. But if you're in fear, you feel powerless.
Yeah. But most anger is based in fear. That's what I find about it.
And I think going back to caveman days, like fear got you killed in some instances, where if you got angry, you might be able to overcome a situation.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
So it's ingrained.
fear. Well, I mean, if we're going to talk, it's fight, flight, or freeze, isn't it?
Yeah, freeze or fawn.
Uh,
Yeah,
um, and as men, we've got to be fight or flight. Basically, freeze will get you killed, as you say. You
yeah,
freeze, you die.
yeah.
Um, in nature, and yeah, run away to fight another day. That's totally plausible in some situations,
Hmm.
or stand and fight. And I think I was just trying to think something. So yeah, fear, because everything's based in fear. Because when I truly let go of my fear around a lot of stuff, most everything, again, it was freeing, and I was no longer angry about a lot of things because I was angry because I was scared. I was scared because of things that happened to me in the past. Those things in the past, do they actually matter now? No, they don't. Right.
Hmm.
And as soon as you let go of whatever fear is associated around them, you can let them go. However, courage, fear is always going to exist in one form or another. Okay.
Yeah,
As I said, the reason we're on video now is because I've released the fear around constantly being on video.
yeah,
Okay. Because I didn't want to be seen.
yeah. I've been on video a lot.
Uh,
Like that's how I started. Like that's what I was offered. That's what was available.
uh,
This was, and it when I came on here and there was no video, I actually felt a little bit more relaxed and
yeah.
comfortable.
Mm,
But I did start on video.
mm.
But there
And
is a comfort zone factor
absolutely,
to that.
there is a comfort zone. And again, as we probably spoke about in the last one, I've spoken about a little bit. A lot of the previous incarnations of the podcast, again, were based in fear, right? And a lack of self worth and trauma and blah, blah, blah. And part of the reason that the new version of the show is stuttering's not the word. It's I'm building it in the background. So much stuff is happening in the background. However, because I don't, it's not that's not doesn't exist in that realm anymore. And I had to make a decision about, do I have the courage to continue now, or have I got everything out of the show that I needed to get out of it. The reality is, we haven't unlocked the code yet, man. So we're not done.
Just keep going
Yeah,
then.
we're not
We'll
done.
get
You know what I
gonna
mean?
get
We're
there.
not done. We
Yeah.
haven't unlocked the code, so we're not done.
We will unlock the code in this life or the next.
Exactly. However, so we're not done, right? However, I wanted to talk about courage and fear because anytime you face, even like, do you want to see? I'll share a silly fear.
Okay.
Share a silly one. I thought sushi was raw fish or Japanese food was all like raw, weird
It's not.
animals, right?
Yeah, I thought that for a long time too.
Yeah. And I didn't eat Japanese food
Yeah.
because of that.
Yeah.
I love Japanese food, man.
Mm-hmm.
Give me some katsudon. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
We take the girls to the sushi train. You know what I mean? Let's get after it. Like I
Mm-hmm.
love Japanese food. Have I had this irrational fear that I didn't want to eat raw food or raw
Yeah,
meat?
that's
Right?
it's like
Okay.
that creeps me out, the idea of eating raw food.
Yes.
It's not in our
No,
culture.
it's not in our culture, right? Because you can get sick if you eat raw seafood in particular, right? And it was only when I was invited to a Japanese restaurant for something, and I'm like, oh, I'll just go. And yeah, crispy pork and crispy chicken, and
That's
get the
right.
don
Yeah.
and this and that. And I'm like, oh, I'll just get it in me. You know what I mean? Like it's delicious. You know?
But I don't know. Isn't there this old tradition? There's this fish and it's super poisonous and you can eat one part of it and 1 out of 10 people die.
Yeah, that's the Simpsons episode.
Right.
That's a Simpsons episode. But no, look, and I think that was just, and I to honestly play that out
Mm,
and to be in a place of vulnerability, I was in fear going to that Japanese restaurant. I mean, that's over 20 years ago now.
mm,
But like, as a young fella, I was like, oh, I was trying to make excuses not to go because I had this
mm.
irrational fear about Japanese food. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So, and it's a little weird to say I went anyway because I wanted to have the experience with the people that invited me. And there was courage in that to go anyway. Because, this we've all had anxiety and allowed our anxiety to stop us doing things we probably should have done. Right.
Hmm.
That's part of the self reflection. How have you
Yeah.
self sabotaged yourself in the past through your anxiety or irrational fear base, where you've talked yourself out of an opportunity, you've talked yourself out of a job, you've talked yourself out of uh, a relationship, you know what I mean, or whatever
Mm.
it is, right? When you probably shouldn't have, but your fear took control and you allowed it to take control. I think fear is always and fear is always going to exist. Courage is feeling the fear and doing it anyway.
Yep. Yeah. Or your other choice is settle.
Yeah. Well, it's, not to quote Yoda at whatever time it is, but there is no try. You know what I mean?
Mm.
Do or do not.
Said that. I used that on someone the other day.
Yeah. Well, it's true.
We're in the gym.
Mm. It's do or do not. And the thing is, if you say do not, then that's cool. That's
Hmm.
fine. You are a
Yeah.
sovereign being and it's your choice to choose that.
Yeah.
However, that means you didn't do anything.
If you say I do
Yeah.
and you say it like you mean it,
Yeah.
it doesn't even mean you'll do it today,
Mm.
but you'll do it
Yeah.
because you're building up to it.
Yeah.
You're
It's
going to
do
be
or do
put
not.
yourself on the path of
Mm.
becoming capable.
And I think, and having, it does come back to having observational awareness of self, I think, in a lot of ways. Because if I think, but then it's not as well. Because, like, going back to my experience recently, I would have continued to do that job. I was definitely going to find another one. Like, that was always going to be the plan this year. I knew my time
Mm.
doing that was at an end, but the universe said, move,
Yep.
right?
No, it slapped you.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So now,
Motivational push.
yeah, now I have to do things at a
Yeah.
rate and at an understanding that I wasn't going to do, but ultimately it's going to be much better for me. However, I think this path that I'm on, UTC3 and everything about this and all the other things that are going on, that that position, that job that I was doing didn't serve that, right? That job no longer served me. It no longer served my path. It no longer served what I was trying to do. So it's now gone,
Yeah.
right? And again, I think, again, do or do not. You can either try in that moment. And look, in the past, when I've been abruptly let go from RTOs, because again, that's what happened if you it happens if you're a trainer and assessor to everybody,
Mhm.
that would have sent me down a spiral of all sorts of stuff, right? Whereas, 4 weeks later, I've already got another job. I've worked a few days at that. I've got other things on the boil. I've got things that, you know what I mean? Like there's
Yeah.
so much is happening
Yeah.
that shows involvement as well, right?
Mm.
Because again, here's one. I feel like we're just dropping seeds tonight. We talk about awareness. We're talking about fear. We're talking about emotions. We're talking about this. Once you know you're crazy, right? Whatever your crazy tendencies are, whether we talk about these negative emotional spirals, we talk about coping mechanisms that are not good for you and you can see them. We talk about emotional issues that you're overreacting to and you begin to see that you're overreacting to, right? So that's the umbrella, okay?
Mm.
But the catch cry is once you know you're crazy, it's your responsibility then not to be crazy. You know what I mean? Because you can't make any excuse. It's like you know
Yeah.
you're crazy.
Yeah.
So now you have to not be crazy anymore.
Right.
Because crazy people don't know that they're crazy, okay?
That's yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So once you know you're crazy, you can't be crazy anymore.
Right.
You've got to
Yeah, it
you
makes
got
total
you got to
sense. Yeah.
implement. You have to implement in order to find the next version and the next incarnation.
So in part one,
Mm.
cost of awareness, because this is part two.
This is part two.
Right. So there is another one back down the line. It was before the room was being built. It was just a thought. We had the awareness that this room was going to be done in a weekend.
Yeah.
So you did mention to me, like before we started, like a month or two ago, that
Yeah.
you were talking about the cost of unawareness.
Yes.
And that's kind of where we ended up anyway.
That's well. Look, the cost of unawareness, I think, is greater than the cost of awareness.
Yeah.
Honestly,
So we talked about a lot about, we actually got your origin story.
yeah, I didn't.
We
Yeah.
got a little bit woo woo. We went a little bit out there
Mm,
with some of the stories,
mm,
some of the things that opened up awareness,
yeah.
some of crazy out there experiences. It got a little bit supernatural.
Mm.
Um, I think you and I are people who you can say you're crazy, but on the outside, we both appear very grounded.
Yes, I like the duck analogy, right? Whereas externally, I'm like a duck that's gracefully going across the top of a lake. Looks like it's in total
Hmm.
control. But if you look at that duck from underneath, those flappers are going crazy. You know what I mean?
I like that analogy. That's a good one.
Yeah.
I'm going to
It,
steal it.
yeah, do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, from looking down, everything looks cool.
Yeah.
We're gliding along the
Yeah.
surface, and underneath, fish are biting our feet, and we're missing a
Yeah.
flipper, and
Missing a flipper.
yeah, I don't know.
Oh,
But
that's got to be a sight.
yeah, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, okay. The iceberg analogy, right? When you
Mm.
see the
Yeah,
iceberg, you
iceberg.
can
Yeah, it's
see
only
the
twenty
top
percent.
of it,
20% of the iceberg is above the
yeah,
bottom.
and the
Yeah,
rest is below.
yeah.
And that was meant to, you know, equate to like the top part is like what you're conscious of,
Yes,
and below is your subconscious. And the
yes.
subconscious is so much bigger.
Oh, massively.
So you're going to spend a lot of days in unawareness.
Look, I think the biggest unawareness that I would like to share that I think in particular relates to men and women as well. We're humans, right? Um, however, I think men definitely feel this because I had no idea, man. I had a perception of I was unaware, so unaware of my own physical presence in the 3D realm,
I can relate.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I was aware of, I was unaware of
Mm-hmm.
my true physical stature. I
Mm.
was unaware of where I sat in the animal kingdom of men and where, you know what I mean? I was unaware of that.
Mm.
And that's how, to a degree, there's obviously trauma and sugar and all sorts of other things. Like this is part of the onion layers, but to a degree, that total unawareness of self led me to be bigger than I needed to be. You know
Mm.
what I mean? Like as far as my size and my weight, um, because I didn't realize that, you know, this is a medium flano that is loose on me,
Yeah.
right? I'm not a big dude. And I didn't realize that. I know that sounds weird to say,
Mm.
but I'm not a big dude as far as like size and bulk. And, I'm not wearing
Yeah.
you
I
know,
don't know. Check out those guns.
look, we can put a gun show going. We don't want to do that and get people upset. No, but you know what I mean? Like my body stature, I've been waiting to talk about this for so long and I still can't articulate it. I think that, okay, let me try again. I think as men, over so there's a couple of different versions. There's a physical three dimensional. How tall are you? How wide are you? What is
Mm.
your ideal weight when you are healthy? And do you even know what that is? Right. I had it in my head that 85 kilos was healthy, whereas I sit here at 82. I'm fluctuating between 79 and 82, depending on what's going on. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Building and burning. However, you know, you wouldn't have thought for a second that me being 80 kilos was a much better option than 85 or 90, right? I was
Right.
that unaware of my own body and what my body needs and what it wants.
So was that the original goal when you started working on your body? Like you wanted to get to like 85, 84 or something.
Yeah. Wanted to
And
get
you
to
thought
85.
that'd be good. That'd be good. So that's okay. You were just creating a realistic goal.
No, no, no. It was based in that at the height of my football career,
Mm. Oh,
I was 85
right,
kilos,
right.
but I was also 20 and I was, you know what I mean? Like I was also
Mm-hmm.
young and I was jacked, right?
Mm.
And my full playing weight was about 85 kilos. And but that and okay, unaware, okay, unaware of my body, unaware of my age, unaware of my actual true physical state, okay, in my 3D existence. Like I was unaware, truly unaware of all of those things, and I'm now aware of those things. And yeah, like at 42, or last year 41, right? I was still eating and training like a 25-year-old,
Mm. Oh, okay, gotcha.
right?
Yeah.
That's not how this works anymore. Okay.
Mm.
My reality is now I can't have most carbs.
Mm.
I can't eat bread anymore, or pasta, or a pie, or like so many things. I just can't. It's it's not how this little show runs anymore.
Yeah.
Um,
I'm at the same age.
yeah.
Yeah.
No, you're not.
Yeah, yeah.
You're young. You're not even 40 yet.
Nearly 40.
Nearly. Yeah, don't even.
Couple of years.
You've got no idea. When you're 42 and I'm 45, I'm going to say, you remember when you said I was nearly
Yeah.
40? Yeah.
Yeah.
Listen, don't
Okay.
talk to me.
Okay.
Um,
Sorry.
but and I think most men are unawareness. Now, I think there's a couple of factors here. I think there's an energetic factor, right? So if you've had to project yourself, like we talked about caveman days, right? If you've had
Mm.
to try and make yourself look bigger, if you've had to fight,
Yeah.
if you've had to get angry to, make
At a
it,
warthog.
yeah, to warthog to
Yeah.
make a segment, you know what I'm saying? Like if you've had to project yourself in a manner
Mm.
over a lot of period of your life, I think your physical stature, I don't think you're aware of it,
Mm.
right? I don't think you're aware of it. And again, where's your body at? Where are your injuries at? Where are you truly at within yourself? And what can you do to make yourself better? And how do you do that without hurting yourself? And, you know, I think, yes, I had the hypnotherapy about the over the sugar stuff. But, here's a talk about you've had every treat, bro. You've had all the chocolate and all the cakes and all the lollies and all the
Hmm.
chips and all the, you know what I mean? You've had them all.
It's probably why I'm stunted in my growth.
Yeah. You've had them all. But we all
I ate a,
have, right?
I ate a lot of that when I was
Yes.
younger, but I don't now.
No. But for those that are still struggling to knock back some of these things like the chips and the lollies and the biscuits and that sort of, what's the reality, guys? What's the reality? The reality is you've had them all and you've had every variation. Do you actually need it? No, you don't, right? So like
Nah.
today I had a pistachio gelato with my wife. We went and had some business to take care of in Ipswich, and we went and had some lunch. Now, that's the only meal that I've had today. I had some fresh, beautifully freshly made dumplings, and I had a pistachio ice cream. Now, for those that know me well, I used to love ice cream. Like if there was ice cream in the freezer, it was an endangered species. Okay. Right now, I don't know how many ice creams or version ice creams in the freezer inside. It's multiple. There's drumsticks in there. There's boysenberry. I don't touch it. Don't eat it. Don't need it. Don't want it. But I shared a drumstick. I had a drumstick with the family the other day when we were out and about, and I had pistachio gelato today. And I didn't come home and go, "Oh, now I need chocolate." You know what I mean? It was like, you know what? I can have pistachio gelato and enjoy it for what it is,
Mm.
right?
Yep.
Because it's not gonna that's not gonna steer me off my path, you know. It's but you can enjoy those types of foods, but the reason that I can enjoy them is my perception is I don't need to, right?
Mm.
I had that was more about having the experience with Kath than it was about
Yep.
eating pistachio ice cream.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. True.
Same with we're out on a picnic
Okay.
and the girls wanted an ice cream, and so we had a box of drumsticks. There's four in a box. I'm not going to
Hmm.
throw one away. So, and that's the first drumstick I'd had in a year or something like that. And it's like I can just enjoy that
Yeah.
for what it is.
Where I think what we did when we were younger, and most people, most humans do, until something goes wrong and the doctor tells you to stop doing that. We do unconscious eating.
We
We
eat our
eat whatever
emotions. We
we.
eat our emotions, man.
That's a great point.
We eat our emotions. That's it.
Yeah. What do you eat? What you feel like eating?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. And in 2025, we want salty, sweet, fat. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? That's the things that give you the dopamine. And that's what happens, man. You know what I mean? And yeah, I think anyone struggling to put the treats down, be honest with yourself. Do you need them? Have you had them before? Have you had, like I had a sweet tooth, man. I was the dessert king. I was the
Yeah.
king of the munchies, man. Like that was a title that was bestowed on me. Okay. Right.
Yeah.
And when's enough enough? You know what I mean?
Well, food, yeah, food is no different. Like, can be an addiction, just like
Yeah,
drinking,
absolutely.
gambling,
Absolutely.
smoking.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It just fits in with all those things because it's, how your brain is reacting to that stimulus.
Mm. What's chasing that dopamine hit or
So,
whatever it is?
can we circle back to
Sorry,
letting
mate.
go,
Let it go.
right?
Let it go.
Cost of awareness,
Let
cost
it
of
go.
unawareness.
Cost of unawareness. Yeah.
So, you asked me about my process, and there's something I didn't talk about, which
Mm.
You just sort of made me
Let's
think back.
circle back, man. Let's
I
circle back.
went,
So what do you, so the question was,
I did a lot. I went through a period of a lot of letting go,
well,
a lot.
you've
And I
had
had a
to with your own, you've
process.
had to with your own personal journey, of
Yeah.
course. Yeah.
And I had a process.
Share the
And
process, man.
well,
People need to hear it.
I think so. The thing is that I was put in a situation, whether this was like my higher self intentional design or something like this was just my journey. Okay.
Yep.
I worked at a business. I worked at like a B&B and a vineyard. Like I was in charge of all of that. Okay. And time was running out of me. I was about to go on a completely different journey. But sort of that's that dark night of the soul period in your life where everything is
Yeah.
like ending. And it's like everything is like not just ending, it's like crashing and burning in front of you.
Mm.
Okay.
Mm.
The bridge is on fire and you're standing on the edge just watching it go down and you're not sure where to go to next.
Mm.
So there was only one place for me to go to, and that was inside.
Mm.
So I accidentally discovered, or unconsciously discovered, that, if I wanted to change anything about myself, it was going to be done internally.
Mm.
And I was also in a situation where I didn't have, so this was quite a while ago, man. I lived in the country. I relied on satellite internet. The plans were really, really small. So
Mm.
it's not like what you had now.
No.
All this new age spiritual stuff that you see everywhere,
Mm.
all over YouTube, that really didn't exist.
No.
And I didn't have enough data to go looking for that. That was for business. Okay. I wouldn't know what book to grab off a shelf to look for some of the things that I was going through.
Mm.
Okay.
Mm.
It was all new to me, and there was nobody around
Mm.
me that I could identify with. So I literally just closed my eyes and I appreciated the silence in my mind.
Mm.
So I started it, in a way, sort of become my new addiction,
Yeah.
because I could go completely silent in my mind and open myself up to the field.
How though?
How? Literally,
Look,
okay,
how with a caveat, because I think, look, I think the next few years is going to get real weird. Okay. And
yeah,
I think we're going to learn things about our own consciousness and our understanding and who we are and what we are and why we're here. It's going to get real weird real quick, right?
for some people,
For
yeah,
some people,
absolutely.
yes. Bring it on. Let's go.
Well, some people, we set intentions, before we started this.
Yes.
Some people are going to hear this where they're just at that pivotal point,
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
because space time isn't really a thing.
I think
Everything is happening right
knowing
now.
you for a few years, and again, Daniel and I talk a lot off the mic. We catch up outside of doing this sort of stuff, and we've had a lot of discussion. You inadvertently tapped into your gift, I think, right? Because I know for me, and I know for a lot of people listening, you going, I just emptied my mind.
Yeah.
What? Oh, did you know that there's like 40 or 50, 40 something percent of people don't have a voice in their head?
You said that in a men's group talk, that
Yeah.
Matt and I run.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, I didn't know, I believe it, but I didn't know the statistics of that.
Yeah. It's like
And it's
40.
pretty crazy.
Crazy. Like, I don't know what would you do? How do you, I don't understand.
Right.
So what was a process? If you can reflect for a second, again, country town, you Ocker Aussie bloke, grew up in the country.
Yeah, I grew up riding motorbikes and
Yeah.
horses. I
Yeah.
was driving a car around when I was 13 in paddocks.
Yeah. You're a little bit left of center, like myself. However, Ocker Aussie existence. Do you remember what the initial process was just to quiet your mind? Because I know now, probably these days, you do it almost subconsciously. You've created that path
Well, I'm
within.
just tapped in
Yeah,
now,
you tap.
automatically there.
Yeah.
But
Do you remember how you did it?
everything, it was like a switch in me.
Mm.
Um, so I had access to wine and cheese platters. and all sorts of goodies and stuff. That was always on the on in the premises.
Mm-hmm.
And I just when everything fell apart for me, I just didn't want any of those things anymore. I just flipped the switch. And as for quietening your mind, like everything was so noisy, I just it nothing happened. I didn't do anything consciously, dude. I was on autopilot,
Mm.
and where my autopilot sent me was just on the opposite way of what I thought my life was going to be.
Mm.
I stopped eating and drinking anything that was bad for me
Mm-hmm.
suddenly.
Mm.
And I have had a chin up bar. Every time I walked past it, I would just start doing chin ups.
Mm.
I lost heaps of weight. And to stop the noise, like, of all the chaos, I'd really just close my eyes, man, and let it be there. I couldn't control it. I knew I couldn't control any of that. So I allowed it to
It's a
be
good. There's a
there.
good. There's a good. There's a good. There's a good. There's something there.
When you become super present
Mm.
with that negative thing, right?
Yes.
That negative thought, that negative voice, you just give it presence
Mm.
and it dissolves.
Mm.
Maybe not all at once, but I found,
So what I'm hearing. Do you think that there was, and this is very important for men in particular, however, active women as well, moving your body definitely quiets the monkeys.
yeah, absolutely. It regulates your hormone system as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
It like gets strips out the cortisol, the
Mhm.
stress hormone.
Mhm.
It helps get rid of anxiety.
Well, one of the things I used to tell boys a fair while ago, and it still holds true. It's like if the black dog is nagging at you, you have depression or anxiety. Again, a negative mindset that we
Yeah.
keep these negative mindsets we keep talking about. Pull your runners on and go for a run
Yeah.
and run as
Always.
far as you can, and then stop
Yeah.
and see whether that thing still bothers you. And I bet you it doesn't. Now, running's not plausible for some people. However, any sort of physical exercise definitely helps quiet the monkeys. Um, do you think you can? And there's two things I want to ask you. How did you know you couldn't control it? Because that's the key, is letting go, right? Was that an instinctual thing, subconscious? You think?
Okay. Firstly, the thing is, I was living in my ego, and I don't mean that in a bad way. I
Ego is not a
mean,
dirty word, but it needs to be regulated like everything else. Yeah.
yeah, so most of us live in our egos, and this spiritual awakening is becoming more aware of your spiritual attributes, of the
Mm,
spiritual part of you
mm,
that is like dormant
mm,
inside.
mm.
And, you know, there's more to me than I thought. The ego's really running the whole show
So
until that
how
point.
old? I mean, obviously, last time we
It's like,
spoke primarily about myself, and it happened to
yeah,
me as a young child.
yeah, we got your
Um,
origin story, which I learn a lot.
that happened to me as a young child. How old were you? This is
It's
in your
like
twenty?
29, 30.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. I was a lot older than your story in part one.
Mm,
You're a kid.
mm,
I was an adult.
mm. You would have had so many preconceived notions that you would have had to let go of pretty quickly, and belief systems that would have been
Do you know what though? It wasn't it wasn't really that much processing and conscious thought going into it. My subconscious kind of started running the show. Like I think when you've got so much stress like in your life, like
external
yeah,
trauma happening
yeah,
at
that's
once. Yeah,
right.
yeah.
Some people will just snap
Mhm.
and they will just end up, maybe in a mental health hospital or something. Like it's
Or
overwhelming.
you give in to substances like
When
you
I,
said, wine
yeah,
and
when I
cheese.
got
Yeah.
into my overwhelmed state, I just automatically started exercising and eating right. I
Mm,
lost a lot of weight. I stopped eating. A lot of that was from stress.
mm.
I wasn't trying to do anything spiritual. I wasn't trying to get healthy, right? I just didn't want to.
Distress. You were stress fasting, which is what
Yeah,
happens. Yeah.
yeah. And fasting just probably cleared up a lot of you
Oh, it
know, the things
accelerates the
going on
journey.
in
Yeah,
my
yeah,
hormones. Yeah,
absolutely.
fasting,
Yeah.
a lot of your emotions are stored, the energy of emotions are stored in like your gut.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
when you clear, like, I mean, this is a spiritual belief that's been handed down, you know, through a lot of Eastern religions, and that when you fast, you know, it's like an emotional purge as well because your intestines are connected to that. So you've got to empty them.
Oh, mate,
You,
you talk about purging, not to be too graphic. However, when I realized that after last year, talking at the men's group and doing the show and all, they're doing the studio and all that sort of stuff, man, some of the purging that I had and just the releasing of toxins from my body um, was unreal. It was, there was a few come to Jesus moments
yeah,
on the porcelain throne, mate, where I thought it was never going to get off, to be perfectly honest.
yeah.
Um, but you hold, and I think you've done it again. I find your story fascinating because you just f- didn't fall into it, but you've instinctually done things that,
Well,
uh,
my instincts fully took over. This is what I need to do to survive. I
yes,
started in survival, man,
yes,
and this is what I need to do.
yes.
Like I went quite simplistic in my mindset, man.
Mm.
I
Well, what did we say before? The most profound things are the
mhm,
most simple. They are the
yeah.
things that resonate. Yeah.
But there is a time that comes later where the processing journey has to begin as well. So
Mm.
first is like, you know, working on your body, working on your hormones, then you'll more likely to prepare yourself for to be able to let go.
Did we
You can't
talk
let go
about
when you're in the middle of something.
no?
It's harder to do.
Mm.
It's not impossible. It's
Did
harder.
did we talk about compartmentalization in the last one, like putting the rage monster in its own room?
Nope.
Do you mind if I touch on that? Because what I'm hearing, in order for you to be in the survival mode that you're in, it sounds like to me that you did compartmentalization, right? It's like, okay, I can put this over here. I need
Yeah.
to quiet my mind. I can put this over here. I'm going to put this over here, and I'm going to give myself a free space within my mind to find some peace. So you've subconsciously compartmentalized,
Hmm.
your work, your
Yeah. Can't deal with that. Can't deal with that. Just change the focus.
yeah, can't deal with that, can't do that. So a conscious exercise that is good for everybody, and it extends now to, and the analogy's gone further because I realized what I'd done. So the original analogy was, there's, and again, in quasi new age spiritual circles, it's like you've got to let it go, you've got to clear it, you've got to release the ego, or you got to cage the beast and you can't let it out, and you've got to do this and do that. And number one, do not ever try and cage your beast. That is never going to work out well. Okay, you put your beast in a cage, it's going to try and it's just going to rage to get out
Oh
of
yeah.
that
It's not
cage.
not ignore it.
No, yeah, you can't ignore it. You can't put it in a box, right? What you can do with certain things, and maybe we call these aspects of your personality, right, of your inner self, is I used to say that my rage monster, I gave him an apartment,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah. You talked about this in our men's group.
Yes, at the men's
I
group, yeah,
remember.
yeah.
This is good.
This is good, right? So your rage monster or aspects of your personality that you want to calm down, and that could be emotional response. It's all emotional response, but you just pick the raft of emotions. Could be anxiety, it could be fear, it could be anger, it could be confusion, it could be, you know what I mean? Just pick one, doesn't matter. Give them their space. And the thing is, I remember physically doing this at the start of this journey, the podcast journey, which is 8 years now, over 8 years now.
Hmm.
Um, I was in my mid 30s when I started this. Like that's seems like a long, long time ago. And it's like, you know what? I understand that that darker side of me has to exist within me. That's the anger and the protection and that sort of things. But he doesn't need to be stressed out. Okay, so we're gonna create an apartment for him, and there's a steam room in there. There's an Xbox. The PS5. There's a massive TV. There's a couches. He's got snacks. He's got a gym. And visualize this for a second, right? So then that version of you is not bouncing around inside your head. It has a home to go to,
Mm.
right? And it can live there happily. Now, the deal I made with that part of myself is the deal I still have. Okay. If I'm working out or if I'm on the bag, well, I've destroyed the bag, need a new bag. If, well, do you know the reason the bag's in that state is because I will let him out
Hmm.
on the bag.
Yeah.
He's not allowed out to express himself at people because that never works out well, right?
Yep. Yep.
Yeah. He can come out when I'm on the bag,
Yeah.
or if I'm in the middle of if I'm the back end of a 25K ride, I'll be like, all right, mate, I need a bit of,
Yeah.
let's release a bit of that energy. So he has purpose and
Mm.
function, right? He is honored for who he is.
Yep.
But then what I realized since speaking at the men's development group is that I've got an apartment complex now.
All right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay.
Right?
This guy has a gym and everything.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, no, but it's different aspects of my understandings and personalities.
Yep.
That's right. It is my anxiety. It is my depression. It is my fear. It is each of these aspects of self has their own place,
Mm.
and each place is different, right? It's not all the same place. The rage monster who likes playing Call of Duty and punching bags all day is not my anxiety who, probably needs
Yep.
meditation music and a
Yeah.
spa and you know what I mean? Like just to calm down. So each thing is built in a way that it relieves the pressure.
Yeah. I was really lucky. I didn't have to learn that. I was doing that when I was a
That's
teenager.
what I mean.
I was
You
already
you were
doing that. I
doing
didn't
you
know
yeah,
the theory
yeah,
behind it.
you've instinctually done
Yeah.
you haven't and like I say, man, there's everyone has gifts and I think everyone has certain things, right? You are a Yowie whisperer. You are
The finder of
yeah,
things.
yeah, you're a finder of things, but you're
Yeah.
also a traversing. You can traverse consciousness, right? You can traverse that wave where you know that time and space are
Oh,
meaningless.
it's familiar. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
really familiar.
yeah, and
Yeah.
and Kath has a separate thing where she can do things in meditation. She's like, oh yeah, I just went and did this, and I'm
Yeah.
like, babe, that's people
Mm.
don't just do that. I've had to have
Mm.
several high dose psilocybin mushroom trips to assist me. Okay, right?
Yeah.
I don't have
Yeah.
that ability. I've got other abilities. I have an
Yeah.
ability to communicate. I have ability to share, and you know what I mean. All those. I've got definitely got other abilities. So I think yes, compartmentalization. You were subconsciously doing that
Yeah.
from a younger age.
That's right.
Um, okay, so
Well, I just want to pause. I just want to say that you did share that in our men's group,
mm,
and there were quite a few boys there, right? And we didn't know how bringing you with your background
mm,
into pretty much we're just taking average Joe guys. They don't have a lot of spiritual awareness, just normal regular people, okay?
mm,
And we're just trying to plant some seeds. We're not being spiritual in there or anything.
mm,
We're just giving some really good grounded advice.
mm,
We didn't know how bringing you in to that was going to go. And a few of those guys, after you left, gave me some amazing feedback. And especially like, those tools.
mm,
Like you've got quite a few tools
mm.
that you've put that you can express,
Yeah,
in
tools in the
metaphors and
toolbox,
that.
man. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But those guys, I know, really appreciated that a lot because I've
Mm,
talked to them since.
mm. Well, tools in the toolbox, man. If I step outside of the trauma reasons that I needed to do this show, and I think about what was the actual reason behind that, the real pure reason was I love ancient megaliths and talking about cool stuff, right? Number
Mm.
one. But number two, I was having a lot of very interesting conversations as a teacher with
Mm.
guys, and I could only do it in 5 minute snippets. You know, I think was it who was it? Was it you or was it one of you boys nicknamed me the weirdo whisperer, right?
No, I didn't give you that nickname. I should have.
Yeah, right. But that's true,
Yeah.
okay? Because I can again take a group of random men who I'd never
Yeah.
met before from multiple different backgrounds and give them three or four things, they'll go home and go, shit, okay.
Well, I do that as well.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, we have that in common.
Mm.
Could be a Pisces thing,
Could
mate.
be a Piscean thing.
We're
Could be a
like,
Piscean thing. Yeah.
I think we're both like halfway up there and halfway down here.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, one of the reasons we started this cost of awareness series, man, is because we wanted to discuss how difficult at times it is for people like us. And I think we're not alone
Mm.
trying to exist. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It just
Yeah.
trying to be part of the matrix or, within, you know what I mean? Or just being is difficult.
Yeah, I, I have the latest perspective I have. Like, I used to think we can just leave the matrix,
Mm,
but
you can't.
you can't.
No.
Well, maybe you can.
Well, you can at the
You
end of the
can,
meat suit ride,
you
maybe.
can
Yeah.
get yourself into this like blissful state and nothing sort of matters vibe.
Mm,
And that's really nice and all.
mm.
But, like I went through that and I wanted to feel more human, more grounded. And you have to live in the matrix, but like there's a part of you that,
Your meat sack exists in the 3D.
yeah,
Okay.
and
And
that's important.
the biggest lesson that, again, the biggest lesson I've learned in the last 18 months is that I actually finally, for the first time in probably 40 years, fully seated myself in my body in this three-dimensional space. I am
Mm,
actually here. I'm here. Right. And I
mm,
know that sounds a little weird. However, it's not to you, it doesn't, not to other people, but I am actually here and fully seated. Because, yes, understanding that time and space, everything is nothing and nothing is everything and nothing really matters at the end of the day. That is a hell of a perspective. It's one that we all need to try and understand and get to. Yet that's not what we're doing here. Okay. We're here in the third dimension. We're here in physical bodies.
yeah.
Whatever we're supposed to do or supposed to achieve or supposed to, whatever's supposed to happen with the knowledge and the gifts and the understandings that we have must happen through the meat suit. Now, if you do a good job at the end of the meat suit, hopefully you don't have to come back. Now, I believe that to be true. If you reach that point where you can ascend, but I think, and you've known these people, Daniel. Anyone that says, "Oh, we go to ascend,"
Mm.
what are their lives like in the third dimension most of the time?
Escapism,
Yeah, right. And
unrelatable.
unrelatable, and not to put too fine a point on it, the amount of very overweight people that tell me that they're spiritual and that they're connected
Mm.
and that they're grounded. Those things don't go together. Because I realized the reason that I'd convinced myself that whatever number I had in my head was the right number wasn't the right number, and how I was treating my body wasn't right. I was not grounded. I was not grounded at
Mm-hmm.
all. Right? I was delusional, is what I was. I had delusions of grandeur. I had delusions of self. They were delusions. They were unawareness.
Mm.
Right. The reason I feel much more confident in the things that I'm saying tonight is because I am actually seated in my body now.
Yeah.
Right. I work with my body on a
Right.
daily basis to be seated in its existence. Now, can I still sit here and raise this body's vibration or its energy level up to have a conversation like this? Absolutely. But I'm still here
Yeah.
because this is where the work's got to be done. If you want to move on, or if you want to, whatever, whatever, however you want to interpret that, there's many, multiple ways. That could be an interesting conversation for another night. What is the, what are we talking about when we say that? It doesn't matter. You've got to go through your body. You must honor the meat suit and the vehicle that you have. And it's only through that that true understanding comes.
Mm.
And the only way you learn that is by getting to know your body.
So for clarity, that is the very first step is taking back control of your body
Yes.
because that
Well,
so
don't make it the last step because that's what I did.
it,
I'd honestly, yeah. If anyone looking for a first step and is struggling with a first step, into the physical, right? Now, that, and again, I used to use an analogy, right? Well, I mean, all the gear that you see out there, that's all secondhand. My entire gym is secondhand. I think grand total, I've spent $500 total. Now that's three punching ball. That's the
mm,
third punching bag, second pull down machine. Overall, I've only ever spent no new stuff. I didn't need to go and buy brand new weights at bloody Rebel Sport because that's $500 on a weight set. No, I got rusty weights from a garage sale. Right. I think we get stuck in a better than the Joneses type thing. That's in the reality is for most blokes who don't or haven't looked after themselves in a while, your body weight is all you need. You don't need a fitness first membership. You don't need anything.
mm.
The analogy that I used to use was did the Spartans have a good life membership?
They had whips.
No, the Spartans did.
No, not the
Not the
Spartans. No,
Spartans.
no, but they did have like really strong code.
Yeah, well, they
They
had
had a
rocks,
code.
they had sticks, and they
Yeah,
had their bodies, man.
they were wearing Crocs on their feet,
It
the
was
old school
calisthenics.
Crocs.
A lot of the like calisthenics, that's where that originates is in Spartan physical
Mm,
training, which is basically body weight training, push ups, sit ups, squats, lunges. And I think for anyone, it's like, oh, I can't do that. Yeah, you can. You can do one. And if one is all you can
yeah.
do, get up tomorrow and do one.
Oh,
And the next day and do one.
you
And then
can
you want to do two. And
you
then you'll
can
do
make that
three.
easier
Then you'll do
by
four.
starting on your knees. Anyone can.
Absolutely. Dude, when I first rebuilt my body after or attempted to rebuild my body after my illness in 2013, I started on a mini mouse blanket in my lounge room.
Mm-hmm.
I was doing push-ups on my knees. I could only do three.
Mm-hmm.
I was doing sit-ups. I could only do five. I was doing push-ups, sit-ups. Basically, I was in single digits for any motor exercise you can think of. Right? I was in single digits, and I did it on a mini mouse blanket in my lounge room of a morning. And it was a 10-minute, 15-minute routine that had stretching and push ups, sit ups, crunches, um, squats, and lunges. And that was it. And I did that every day. And it was single digits, man. That's it. I could only do five. And then when I got to 10 of all of that, it was a momentous occasion. So I think for those out there like, oh, I can't do, no, just be kind to yourself, right? Take your time with, you know, because cold turkey or flat out, nothing or everything, it's not going to end well, right? Oh, I've got something else I've got a different thing I want to talk about. Where were you thinking? Where you've got something to say?
Um, that I wanted to give a tool as well. It was a more about letting go. I could hear someone going, "Okay, dude, just give us the tool."
Yes. Yeah. What are the
Right.
tools? What are the tools to let
So
go? Yeah. Well,
I think it comes from an understanding of how your brain works.
mhm.
Okay. So if you cut yourself and you bleed, do you have to do anything or does your body heal itself?
Depends on the severity of the cut, I suppose.
Yeah,
Mm.
true. So I kind of think the mind can heal itself
Absolutely, it can.
through.
I know that.
So through meditation, maybe we've all seen the charts and the studies, like different colors.
Yeah.
It's all blue if you're meditating. It literally heals your brain.
Hmm.
So a lot of people have heard a lot of people say, I can't meditate or I can't make my mind go silent, but they're trying to do something. And meditating is about doing nothing
Mm.
and having no judgment.
Or is meditating? I've always see the thing is I struggle to and sit still, just mainly because of my knees and my back. To be perfectly honest, however, I've got to a point. If I ride the same track that I've ridden for ages on the rail trail, that one in particular, I've gotten to a point riding that I'm not there. Like it's, you know what I mean? I can
Yeah.
release and let go, and it's a meditative state. But
Yeah.
I don't. Do you think that's the same, or is that different?
Uh,
Because a lot of guys I
it's
know,
different.
yeah,
It's slightly different. Okay. So we should talk about like the different brain states, right? So like beta brain state, you're like mine's super active, okay, perfect for mathematics, trying to solve your problems of the day.
mm-hmm,
And then if you go to bed, right, and you start to go into that reflective state, the alpha state,
mm-hmm,
so when you start thinking of memories that have happened from the day, and if you've processed all the memories from the day and you're still awake and you're still in alpha, it might be older memories that come up.
yeah,
And then what's after that? You've got theta.
theta, delta,
Okay. So in theta, you're normally starting to fall asleep.
yeah, that's the
So
theta's the
meditating,
your
it's
bobbing of consciousness.
accessing the theta state. And for me, even delta states while you're awake and
Mm,
conscious.
mm.
And in that, if you can get to that delta state, you're connected to everything and you're
If you
connected
can
to all
if
the
you can
answers.
maintain your conscious mind into a delta state.
Yeah, it took a lot of practice, but for me, like all my toys were taken away from me. I didn't have TV reception. I
Mm,
didn't have internet. I didn't have books.
mm,
All I could do in my spare time was work out, and when I was couldn't do any more of that, all I could do was sit there. So I was like, this stuff that's
mm,
bothering me isn't going away. It's not going anywhere.
mm,
Like, so I just sat there still. I
mm,
wasn't even trying to meditate. It started that way.
mm,
And then I started doing it intentionally.
mm.
And I noticed my mind is like a filing cabinet. Okay. And the thing is,
Compartmentalization.
if you can, yeah, if you can, when I would make my brain like quiet, I would just silence my thoughts and that. Okay, so there is a process of trying to quieten your mind. There's the non-judgmental aspect, but there's also focusing on nothing and nothingness.
Mm.
Okay, and you do.
The white room in the Matrix is probably a good analogy.
I think so. I
Mm,
think so. I wouldn't. Some thoughts would come up and you literally just let them go and you get better at it letting them go,
mm,
letting them go, letting them go.
mm.
And all those thoughts
So,
that
is there a
things are,
process? We talk about tools, right? Because for us mere mortals and not someone of your gifts, letting go is not an easy thing, right? So, couple of tools. We're talking about tools to let go. Okay. If something happened to you, right? So if we're talking about, you just said to, so you wake up with the older memories. You wake up and you remember the time you embarrassed yourself in that girl when you were 12. And
mm,
what you probably don't understand is that interaction actually informed the rest of your existence and actually created a trauma
okay.
stamp of some
So,
kind, right?
so those are the one, that's not what we're letting go of. We're letting go of things that are taking us out of being present for the moment. So trying to come back to presence.
Yeah.
All those things that created us, all those traumas in that, they require more processing.
Mm.
So,
So
you
so
have to
you're talking
process
about a more at the moment we're talking about a basic process to try and empty your mind.
all of your spiritual energy, all of your energy is in the present.
Mm.
It's in the It's not in the future and it's not in the past.
Mm.
In reality,
It's right now.
it's right
There's only
now.
right now. Yeah.
And you are mentally projecting your spiritual energy into the past or into the future, and
Mm.
it's about coming back to the present.
And going no.
And you get a lot of your energy back,
Mm.
and you can process things faster. You can let go of things faster.
So there's a couple of exercises here, right? Where I think that could help to achieve the state that you're talking about. Okay. First one is when it comes to and like you said, that's a really good way of putting it, by the way. You're projecting your energy into the past, into the future, into things that you can either neither control or no longer matter, right? So how do we stop that? So the things that the trauma responses, we could talk about rebuilding brain synapses as well. It's a good conversation. And there's some good analogies there. Let's say something happened to you, whether it was 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, let's not tell anyone, 20 years ago, let's not tell anyone, 25, you know what I mean? For us, it's
Mhm.
getting up there 25, 30 years ago, right? These are things that happened in our childhoods that informed us and helped us make good, bad, or ugly decisions as we matured, right?
Mhm.
But at the end of the day, most of these things don't serve us. So again, the question comes back, if you're starting to think about something like that, stop for a second, take 3 to 5 seconds. That's the rule. It's one of the rules. The two rules that apply to pretty much everything, guys, is keep it simple in 3 to 5 seconds. They apply to everything you do, everything you think about. It just applies to everything. If you can do that, but it's what do you do within that 3 to 5 seconds? Okay, if you're in the middle of about to letting the rage monster out and probably saying something you shouldn't to someone you love that doesn't deserve it, you need to stop yourself and ask yourself why. Why are you feeling that way in that moment? As you say, bringing it back to the present. Why am I feeling like that? What has caused me? Because when you're in a negative mind state, again, rage makes you deaf, dumb, and blind. Okay. If you're in anything, any version of that state of mind, it's not rational and no one deserves that from you. There's only very rare cases where it's a life or death scenario
Mhm.
where that is appropriate behavior. Okay. So then the question is how, or sorry, the question is why. And the thing is, if you're honest with yourself, what makes me feel this way? It might be, Billy Bob in grade 5 dunked my head under the toilet and, whatever it is, right? There could be something. There's a trauma stamp there. This mic's, they keep knocking it. There's a trauma stamp there that you need to deal with. But there's a very simple way to deal with it. Now, again, this is a lot easier said than done. However, the keep it simple metaphor is, okay, do you overcomplicate your life, Daniel, at times?
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. So does everybody else.
Yeah.
Okay, so we agree we overcomplicate things. Good, that's all we need. Does this serve me? Why do I feel this way? And again, to quote Yoda, hate, fear, anger, all those things lead to the dark side. And if you're not paying attention, this whole thing that we're dealing with in this place that we're at is the dark versus the light. Okay.
Mhm.
The force is real. That's what's going on. And we need to step into the light. Right. We need to be of the positive more than the negative. Okay. So does this serve me? No, it doesn't. Do you want to feel this way anymore? No, I don't. Okay. Then why? All right. Okay. That happened 20 years ago. Do I still want that to rule my existence or can I let that shit go?
Mm.
And then the question comes back, oh, you don't know me, you don't know. Oh, no, I don't know your trauma. Well, I mean, you know each other very well, but for other people, we don't know them. But what we do know is that we all just agreed we overcomplicate everything.
Yep.
So
Absolutely.
we're overcomplicating
So
this as well,
yeah,
right? So when you say let it go,
that's what I was
it
thinking.
could be
Like
that simple, right?
for this process, right?
Mm.
It's the process of not having a process.
Yes, just let it go. Yeah.
That is the process. Is
But I
don't
think
have a
that,
process.
but I
Just
think for people not as far down the path, right? That haven't created those pathways in their own mind, that keep it
Mm,
simple process is not a bad one, right?
mm.
Because in order to let something go, you can't just say let it go. Okay, you
No, I
can,
agree.
you
No,
can,
I
but if
agree.
that
You can't
individual,
just say to somebody,
yeah,
"I
if
command you to let
yeah,
it go."
let it go. What's wrong with
Right.
you, right? That's not how this works. You've got to, it's got to be analyzed, understood, and you need to be ready to let it go.
I did a lot of that.
Yeah,
Like I did a lot of that.
yeah,
I did a lot of see when I say I was processing, I was really setting an intention. The process was automatic for me. Like it would just
yeah.
come.
Again, I think you've inadvertently accessed your gift.
Oh, I don't need that.
A ton of eucalyptus, they're good.
Maybe later.
Just trying to be nice, man.
Stop it. That is sugar. What are we talking
No, it's
about?
honey eucalyptus. It's not
Right.
sugar.
Okay.
That's glucose, man. That's the reason I got them.
Right. Well, I don't feel like it now. Thank you.
Well, that's fine, mate. Just be ungrateful. It's fine.
I'm so grateful for this.
It'll be good for the drive home.
That's when I want it,
All right.
really.
So again, because you've well ingrained your processes. What I'm hearing in you is that if I say something, you go, "Oh yeah, no, I did that." So
Yeah.
you did do these things,
Mm.
but it was your forced isolation
Yeah, it was my environment. Like
that accelerated the
I had to
process.
do it.
You
There's
had to,
nothing
yeah,
else to do
or go
but
crazy.
but
That's it.
this.
Yeah.
A huge part of it is that so I think that's the difference between just going through trauma and trying to figure that trauma out
Mm,
and for people who can relate to having a spiritual awakening
mm.
is you go through a dark night of the soul, but like
Or
really
several.
it's yeah, or several, but it is about connecting back to spirit. Like you're literally not alone. You don't have to do the work, and that takes us down the left hand versus the right hand path.
Mm,
Right. So I work a little bit with the left and a little bit with the right. So working out, doing some exercise,
working with the physical body. Yeah.
you are slowly, building yourself up,
Mm-hmm.
building yourself back better. Okay. Making the body great again.
Great again. Yeah. Well, we can be, well, and look, we can talk about being men again.
Yep.
Crazy, eh?
And the left
That's not for
hand
tonight.
is yeah, the left hand is like talking about like manifestation, instant manifestation.
So, do you know what's interesting in a lot of spiritual practices and in the triptych? The left is the goddess.
Mm.
It's the feminine. It's the yeah. The right
Well,
is the
yeah,
masculine.
you're like so okay. So an Indian teacher that I've spent some time listening to, um, he puts it in a way that like you're going through some dark shit. You
Mm.
are asking for the mother's grace.
Yes.
He's talking about the universal mother's grace.
And here's a question before you continue. I just want to drop this little seed. Not now, but later. I want everyone to sit and ask themselves where their connection to the great mother and the great father are. Now, however you interpret them, whether that it doesn't matter. The universe doesn't care how you interpret them. The grand feminine, the sacred feminine, and the sacred masculine energies of the universe, and well, this planet first, number one, however, and then of the universe itself. Where is your connection? Sit. Just sit with that. Keep going.
Yeah. Well, I guess most of us have, most of us fortunate souls have experienced a mother's grace in our lifetime or a mother figure,
Mm-hmm.
even if it's not biological, even if it was a stranger.
Mm-hmm.
We've experienced a
Well,
form.
we chase that, yeah.
Yeah, a form, but it's also exists in a universal sense in the ether.
Mm-hmm.
And it's something that can be felt. Some people have had experiences where it feels like this grace touches you and
Without it, yeah.
they burst into tears and they just let all this stuff go.
Yeah, I don't know whether. Yeah, I think I shared that the Great Mother came and took the little boy away.
Mm.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah. And you've got to be seeking it to open the door, right? So you've got to open up the mental door, the heart door to spirit. You
mm,
are working with spirit. Now you're seeking answers.
mm,
That is when you go deep down the rabbit hole. All of your intentional focus is on looking for answers.
mm.
So when the student is ready, the master appears.
Yeah, and I think, yeah, man,
And it's very ungrounding time.
oh, yeah. What is it? There's all those memes. It's like I wrote a song about my spiritual awakening. Ah,
Let it out,
yeah,
man.
yeah,
Let it
yeah,
go.
yeah, let it go. Yeah, yeah. What people think spiritual awakening is, and it's someone dancing through the tulips. And what
Yeah.
spiritual awakening really is rocking in the corner,
Yeah.
going, "I'm not
Yeah.
crazy. I'm not crazy."
Yeah. Yeah. Can't unsee that thing.
The thing is, guys, is that none of this stuff. It's interesting to talk about. However, behind every single lesson or tool or anything that we shared and will continue to share, what was behind that generally a lot of times wasn't nice, right? It's not generally rainbows and unicorns,
Mm.
you know? Um,
Because your ego is being smashed by Thor's hammer.
yeah, yeah. You are nothing. Yeah,
Yeah.
you are nothing and you know nothing.
Mm.
And you either know that and be cool with that or rail against it for the rest of your life.
Yeah. And the other huge thing with letting go is like a lot of us are trying to fight against something. We're trying to face some evil, some darkness, but it's always about surrender.
Where
Like
focus
trying to
goes.
find a way, yeah, to feel safe in my body right now
Uh-huh.
and to come back to presence.
Mhm.
And see, meditation brings you into presence where the past and the future do not matter
No,
so much.
yeah.
There's none of your energy leaking out. And
Look, I
that's like
think
an energy leak.
part of my next version of learnings is to sit with meditation a bit more. I think um, the intention, introspection, and reflection I had to have doing the job that I was doing has now. I think I've got a deeper ability to do that. Something I do want to do. We come back to the it's being in the present, isn't it? Right? It comes back to observational understanding. It comes back to, I think for me, it comes back to what do you want to focus on? Right. Like I said at the start of this conversation, I would much prefer peace and love. Why have enemies when you can have friends? And like I said said then too, go fuck yourself is still very much on the table.
Mm.
However, I would much rather peace and love, man. I would much rather that. It's much more um, heart centered. And I think if we come back to awareness, a lot of men, for very various reasons, are not heart centered. And I think the fear that's associated with being vulnerable, because we talked about that earlier,
Yeah.
if you freeze, you die.
Yeah.
The shift in perception there is having the courage, the amount of courage, willpower, and fortitude it takes for you to be vulnerable and to face yourself and deal with yourself and be a better version of yourself is so much stronger than any anger based, fear based, bullshit that we've been taught. Right, the courage, the willpower, and the fortitude that it takes, and and it's not easy. Like I feel very zen tonight. I feel like we've really delivered a lot of really good stuff tonight.
That could be some of the ingredients I put in your special drink
That's
too.
true. Well, we might have our own UTC energy drink if we refine the process. That could be fun. Um, and we should talk about that. I'm serious.
Hmm.
Um, but no, it's the thing is this stuff. I had a humbling experience a little while ago where someone referred to me as a mentor, and I'm getting better, having a better awareness, because one of my lessons through my self worth was I couldn't take a compliment
Hmm.
or couldn't feel a
Yeah.
compliment.
Yep.
All right. So when someone gives me a compliment or something like that these days, I really try and bring it into my heart and feel it. And I had someone call me a mentor, and it was, they were projecting onto me. And I said, listen, I really appreciate that. However, the only way that I know to give the advice or say the things, and we talk about what we've spoken about tonight, all the things that I've said tonight are lessons. And every single one of those lessons had so many fuck ups. You know what I mean? Like, I've fucked up so many things, and I've been so wrong about people, about situations, about there's only, the only way that I know that something is good is because I've seen the bad side of it, and I've chosen to take a middle path, and I've figured out a tool to deal with it. And because I'm a pretty simple bloke, and people, no one believes that, but I really actually am. I like things being simple. That's the reason that the things that I say resonate, is
Hmm.
because I can't fix it if it's not easy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's got to make sense to me simply. And if it does, then you can communicate it. But the only way that I know, and the only way, and the only reason I'm sitting here in a very, I feel this, I feel very zen tonight and very comfortable in the sanctum, which is cool. However, the only reason I feel that way is that the things that I'm saying tonight, I understand the lessons of them
Yeah.
better than I ever have. But that
Hmm.
lesson came at a cost. Like, there was, you know what I mean? It was
Yeah.
very rarely rainbows and unicorns that have got me to the point where I can be zen about, hey, if you just do this, it'll be okay. To get to that point is still, you've got to face the things. And I think, to recap a little bit about what we've spoken about tonight, compartmentalization, stilling your mind, taking your time. You know what I mean? These are things and these are tools. And I know it's easy to say, don't be afraid, but what are you scared of?
More, you don't have to be
You
afraid.
don't have to be afraid. You
Yeah.
have the courage, you have the knowledge, you have the willpower and the fortitude to do what you need to do. If you've listened to this, then you do. And you either do or you don't. And, I think the beauty is too, man, is it's one mountain, many paths. We're all trying to find our way to the top, right? Or, trying to find our way along that path. Everything that we've said tonight, you may not agree with all of it. And I don't think that you should, right? You probably should find something you disagree with us on, because
Hmm.
that's healthy, right?
Yeah.
Like, me and you don't have the same opinions on some things that we talk about. We have a very similar understanding of a lot of things, but our perception is different. And we've had those conversations.
Because we come from different direct
That's
experiences
right.
of things.
Our informed experience is different.
That's why everybody has to be their own guru.
Yes. And that's, like, over the years, people have said that, I should be a life coach or something like that. You remember when that was big a few years ago?
Mm. Oh, yeah.
Going like, oh, yeah, you should be one. It's
I
like,
think
no,
it still
it
is.
still is.
Yeah.
No, no. And the reason no is because I would rather do this, have these conversations, give them away for free, than, and then allow that person to find their own way. Because you are, like you said, you've got to be your own guru. That's having tools in the toolbox, keeping it simple, taking your time, having a breath, being aware of your emotions, sitting with that. These are all just tools. I can't make you do them. I can't make you implement them. And you know?
I believe that everybody has a part of themselves. If you can quiet your mind enough, and it doesn't matter if it takes a year to practice it,
Well, the
you're
thing is,
eventually
brother,
going to get it.
it doesn't take a year, does it?
It doesn't. It took me 3 months
Well, I was
of
thinking, well, it does.
okay.
It takes even less than that, man. If you think about
I went
the
from
MDG group, well, thinking, no,
yeah,
it's just a group of random dudes that
yeah.
I spoke to for 45, an hour and a half or whatever, however long it was. My gift was on display that night where I captured them and gave them three or four things to think about.
Mm.
Through that collective process, we all quieted each other's minds and allowed thoughts to drop in. You know what I mean?
Oh, okay, yeah. Yeah, for that process. I
Mm.
mean, it could take 3 months for you to not feel like you need to do so much processing. Like, I
Yes.
mean, what would happen if you
What
gave up all of this outward
there's another
crap and you
there's an
just went inside and worked on you for 6 months? What would the next version of you look like?
yeah, but who's got time? You know what I mean? The unlocking the code part of this was if I go back to Quest for Self back in the days, like okay, how do you do what we're talking about, right? Because yeah, look, again, I was forced to stand in my shed for not forced. I chose to stand in my shed for 4 years and have an intense retrospection and inflection and reflection of myself. So again, my isolation was forced upon me, or it was part of what I was doing. Like your isolation was forced upon you, right?
Yeah.
The trick is to try and there's a word here. I wonder if you can pick it up. What's the word? What do we need to maintain things? We need
We need habits.
habits. How do we maintain our habits? We maintain discipline.
Yeah.
Is what we do, right?
I think if you
Discipline
really want to do
equals freedom.
something, you'll prioritize it and you'll make time for it.
Mm.
And like if you don't have time for it and you are asking for it and that asking is big enough, the universe is going to shift you.
Let's talk about the 10 minutes stretching, push ups, sit ups, squats, right?
Hmm.
I don't have time. Really? You don't have time?
Hmm.
You don't have time? You don't have time? Take it out of the time you spend on this,
Exactly.
right?
You can go into
You don't
the,
have time?
I think you can go into the Facebook app because Facebook is a big one, right? A
Mm-hmm.
big time waster.
Mm-hmm.
You can go into the app, I think, and it will tell you how long you've spent on it.
Yeah, don't do that. That's not healthy.
Probably.
No.
Oh,
What do
mine,
you know?
mine
What do you
is
know? No,
not much at all.
I play a game with myself with this now.
Hmm.
I've got a health app, the phone health app.
Yeah.
So my aim is every week, it's like a Sunday afternoon, it pops up. I want to see that I've spent less time on my phone than I did the week before.
Hmm.
Right? It'll go, you spent two
Yeah.
hours and 20 minutes less time on your phone this week. Boom. Exactly. That's what I want. Right. I
Hmm.
don't. So everyone has time. You have time. Yeah. And I think you're going to make the time, but it's also about having the discipline to take the time.
Yeah. Like, if you really, really want to tap into your energy and get closer to the core of your being,
Mm.
where all your energy is just vibrating like you wouldn't believe off this planet,
Time.
you got to, yeah, okay, you got to have time. Time doesn't exist, but you got to have it, right? It's the paradox.
The meat wagon recognizes time, but in,
Yep,
in the grand scheme of
absolutely.
things, it doesn't.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you yeah, if you don't have time, you need to change your priorities.
Mm.
And if you, I do believe if you are asking for it strongly enough and you know about manifestation, you know about law of attraction,
Mm.
like you are going to attract a situation where time is going to be made for you.
And
If you've opened those doors,
now understand this, and this is where in the universal sense, time doesn't exist, but good, bad, and ugly don't exist either, right? You got to be very careful. I need time to work on myself. Your job's gone.
yeah, yeah, there goes your job.
You know what I mean?
Right.
You got to be,
Sorry, family. I
yeah,
have to do me today.
yeah. You've got to be
Yeah.
very careful about manifestation and understanding of energy.
But you do have to fill your own cup first. I mean, that's how it works on an energy basis.
Well,
That's
this is
just not what we do because of
okay.
society.
So if people are struggling for motivation or to understand how to and why, how and why would you make time for yourself to do this? Here's an easy one. You cannot be the best mother, the best father, the best friend, the best husband, the best wife, the best family member, the best worker, the best mate, the best anything if you don't look after yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
You can't.
Yeah.
Ego is not a dirty word. Yes, it can be. Don't get arrogant about it, but you must. It is critical to your own self to make time for yourself, right? We talked about this is a passion project. You know, before I came up here, I made sure that my girls were squared away, right?
Yeah.
I did everything I needed to do, and now I'm up here. I'm in peace. Everything's fine, and I can engage in that passion project. So I took care of what needed to be taken care of in order to make the time to be here with you tonight to have this conversation. You cannot be the best version of yourself. Again, husband, wife, mother, father, friend, doesn't matter if you don't make time for yourself.
Hmm.
The next question, I think, we're posing a lot of questions to the people tonight. What is your passion project?
Well, we went into this in cost of awareness
Did
part
part one,
one.
did we?
Yeah, we talked about this, and it was the men's group.
Mm.
So we went over that.
Yeah, good,
Um,
good, good. Because I feel like we're coming to an end, but I don't know how to end it.
well, I do want to say that when I went through everything that I went through,
Mm.
okay, so you want to talk about dealing with the big things that are bothering you, the big things that feel like they're trapped inside you. You don't know what to do with them.
Yep.
Well,
What do we do?
you've got to, so like I was starting to learn about energy centers.
Mm-hmm.
So literally, I'm in my living room. This is like a supernatural experience, I guess you could say.
Mm-hmm.
I had started meditating. I hadn't done a real lot at all, to be honest. But I've got to say also the TV, television programs, they tell lies to your vision, and it is programming.
Yeah.
So I didn't have a TV. No lies being told to my vision. I'm opening myself up
And was this
to
pre-smartphone or
nature.
was this?
No, I didn't have a very smart phone. I had a dumb phone.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I
Was
guess
that your attempt at a joke?
I don't know. Could it has
It
possibly
was.
been funny
It
at
was. It
all?
was really bad. If it was.
Oh,
Anyway.
no, 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 no. Not at all then in
Yeah.
that
No.
case.
Not all in that.
No, I changed my mind.
No.
That wasn't a joke.
Hang on,
Yeah.
bro.
Oh, yeah. Little too late. But anyway, we got to use it. So I was trying to create that moment for
Yeah.
you,
I
bro.
know. Yeah.
Yeah. I
I
left
don't.
it
I
wide
still don't know.
open.
I'm waiting to see where that comes through on Zoom. I've been playing with it all.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah. Because I said I like flipped a switch and started doing everything opposite. I stopped doing everything that was unhealthy
Mm.
and started doing everything that was healthy.
Mm.
So, to clear your chakras, your energy centers. So, okay, I was telling a story what happened to me. I literally just felt this external thing
Mm.
open up. It's like felt like a pop.
Mm.
Okay. It went
Actually,
the
you
root
you
chakra.
gave us a. You talk about detailed. Your very first show that we did,
Yeah.
you spoke in detail about this experience.
Yeah, but I don't really remember it,
I don't
what I
remember it either.
shared
I don't
really.
remember either. Yeah.
But
Mm.
this was, yeah, I didn't know what a chakra was. I wouldn't have said energy center. Like I was like in dumb land, just all this weird shit is happening to me. Okay.
Mm.
And that was another kind
And
of
you don't have
stress.
a reference point. You didn't have a
It took
reference
me
point.
down the rabbit hole.
Yeah.
Okay. But like one day, like three bottom chakras just popped open. I just kept doing my exercise and that. And then the next three just popped.
Mm.
Felt like a pop. It just burst open.
Well, they've been
I was
cleared out.
clearing,
Yeah.
yeah, I was clearing my energy centers.
Yeah.
I wasn't trying to. It was just an intuitive thing that I had to do because I was meditating. So I was listening to the core of my being. I was listening to my higher guidance.
And for those that
And
don't think that chakras are real, yeah, they are. The energy centers of the body, it's been
well,
scientifically proven. Pretty much.
the yeah, okay. When you look at that, is it Kirlian photography
Yeah,
and
yeah,
stuff? They can see auras and
mm,
have been doing it for a very long time.
mm,
So you can see the energy centers of the body
mm.
through certain types of photography and
And remember,
imaging.
just for what you see is what you believe. Just to make a little mind bender, we see 0.0003% of the light spectrum.
Yeah. Yeah.
0.003%.
Yeah.
So that's
So,
99.97%.
and I mean, like, put yourself in my position, like this country guy, everything's
Yeah,
standard, and
exactly.
all of
Yeah,
a sudden
yeah.
this
Riding
happens
motorbikes and
to
cutting
me, and
chainsaws. Yeah,
I'm not trying to say, oh, this is how you do this, how you do this. Like,
it just
I
happened.
was just going through an experience, man.
Yes.
I had a direct experience,
Yeah.
something that happened to me. I had never had anything like that happen to me before, nothing to,
You
you
got no
know,
reference point
no
to call
reference
upon.
point.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and I tried to find out information about that, and there was really nothing. And I literally just went inside. I just made a decision. I went inside me,
Mm-hmm.
and it just opened everything up. I was just connected. Every question that I had about why did this happen to me? Why did this go wrong? The answers started flowing to me.
Mm.
But I think anyone that have to believe you have chakras, maybe I didn't. So I guess it really doesn't matter. But I think the process is like literally all of your energy, it's going somewhere. It's
Mm.
leaking somewhere. Like, the real definition of sin is not committing evil, but I think doing something that you're not proud of doing
Yeah.
for yourself. I think that was the true definition, wasn't
Yeah,
it?
yeah. There's a little exercise. What I was thinking here, a quick little exercise that you can do. You got to be very specific. Okay, is you can do a conscious energetic exercise where you can go. I call all parts of energy that I've left behind back to me without harm or detriment.
Mm.
It's very important. Anytime you do any of this stuff, please, 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 without harm or detriment to myself or others or loved ones in space and time and in between space and time. Okay. Without harm or detriment to myself, to loved ones, or anyone else in space and time without space. You know what I mean? You got to be very careful about that. No harm or detriment, because you start messing with energy, it will mess back. Okay. There is a cause and effect here, but you have universal understanding and right to bring your energy back into you. Right. And I think that's what you were doing. I think you were doing that. You were bringing yourself back into yourself
Yeah.
instinctually.
Yeah.
But there is a physical exercise where you can sit in a meditative state and
Yeah.
go,
You go,
I bring myself, I bring all parts of myself that I've left behind back to me without harm or detriment.
hmm,
Again, make sure that's very important.
yeah. Being isolated like is a massive part of it. Like
Forced isolation,
in a
yeah,
in a proper spiritual or like the chakras opening, apparently that is called the
the
Kundalini
Kundalini, yeah.
awakening.
Mm.
And I did see images of like the serpent moving up, and it's like it's everywhere. It's on
Mm.
the ambulance sign.
Oh, it's everywhere.
Like, yeah,
Absolutely. Yeah.
it's all
The
over the
serpent, the
place.
serpent iconography. Look, one of the topics that's in many of the books is to talk about Ophiuchus, which is the serpent star sign. It's the fifth sign
Yeah,
of the calendar. Yeah.
the 13th.
Yeah. 13th star sign. Well,
Yeah.
it should be 28 days apiece. Works out
Yeah.
perfectly. Yeah. Mm,
Hmm. Interesting that
mm,
that
mm.
was taken away.
And why?
Yeah.
Well, the serpent mythology again has to do with the sacred feminine. I think the especially for men, the answers lie. Well, actually, that's up there. It's the Book of Five Rings is up there. I think is it up there. I think it's up there. The Book of Five Rings is up there, and the five rings were the artist, the lover, the healer, the father, and then the warrior.
Yeah. Okay. I
Right?
was thinking about archetypes.
Yeah.
if we're going to
So
bring that up.
yeah, and I think the answers. Listen, boys, the answers are to be found in the things that you are. The softer sides of self, I think, is where a lot of your answers are going to be found in your emotional state. Like feeling is healing, and you know where are you not honoring yourself, right? So if you have five sides to yourself, the lover, the father, the artist, the healer, and the warrior, everyone wants to jump to the warrior because that's the what we grew up with. But where are you honoring the lover, the artist, the healer, and the father? Where are you
Well,
honoring those
what
parts of
yeah,
self?
if you maybe you already have all of those things, but do you have the healthy version of that?
That's right. Where are you or
Yeah.
where are you lacking within that spectrum? What part of yourself are you not honoring? And that's where you'll start to find answers and understandings. It's yeah, maybe we should go through that Kundalini experience. I think we're because you did give a good. I haven't listened to that first episode of yours when we did out the.
I really don't remember.
I don't
It's like
remember. Yeah,
years ago.
years ago now.
Yeah.
Um, but brother, I don't know if we've got too much more tonight.
Do you think there's going to be a part three?
Oh, I think this is a never-ending conversation. I think because what's going to happen
Yeah.
is we're going to listen back to this one and go, "Oh, I didn't say this or this or that or this or that," And I think it's this one. This will be cost of awareness. Look, we're going to be grey and
Okay.
old.
So
And
I'll
it's
just
going to be
ask
cost of
you.
awareness part
Yeah.
402.
For what? 402. Oh, I don't know.
Are
The,
we going to get
the
there?
time
Yeah.
between
Between now and
times would I come back? I'm going to be 933.
well, no, we're going to get stem cells, bro. It's going to be good.
Oh, yeah. I'll be on my third reincarnation
Yeah, third
in
body,
this
third
time
third body,
space
third
continuum.
body swap. Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
Well, I wanted to do a. I've got a.
Oh, okay. Pick a
I've
page.
got to pick a page for the end. The end. So before I do pick a page, what have you got? What's? Here's something. Here's a blast from the past. Final thoughts. Final thoughts, sir.
Do you know, talking about all this clarity and that, my mind is really clear right now. There's
I
not a
know
lot coming
there's
up.
not a lot coming up.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think
Yeah. But I do have a story.
yeah. Finish with the story, and then I'll
Okay.
I'll do.
This is about this. This is actually related directly to this.
Cool. Do it.
Okay. So it's a little bit sad story. Okay.
Things happen, bro.
No, no. It's this is life. Okay. But so I'm not going to go into the depth of the sadness,
No, it's
but
okay.
in a situation, right? You did this like first time in this room on a podcast.
Mm.
And it's like works kind of like tarot.
Yeah.
How the hell does that work?
Mm.
Yeah, okay. Quantum entanglement directly relating to your situation, right? We can explain that away and overcomplicate things,
Yes,
but
absolutely.
it works.
Of course it does.
Well, it was you, sir, who gave me this tool, and I pulled it out in a time of need. It just popped into my head.
Mm.
Okay. So someone had lost their son, unfortunately, and they were grieving
Mm.
and feeling a little bit of guilt about things they could have done, should have done.
Mm.
And I didn't know this person was a friend,
Mm.
like not a close friend,
Mm.
but someone that I worked with, someone that I loved.
Mm.
And mum rings me up and says, "Did you hear about?" I'm not going to say the person's name.
No, it's okay.
And I'm like in shock. No. Spent the next hour just talking with her.
Mm.
I had to end the conversation. And she was at that point going into sort of a little bit of self blame in that. And I said, "Look, can we try something? Is that okay?" She's like, "Yeah, fine." She's very Christian, very spiritual person.
Mm.
Maybe not traditional Christian, a little bit more
Like,
new
yeah,
age
yeah.
with tradition.
Mm.
I said, "What's the closest book you have to you?" She was sitting down. She looks around. She says, "The closest book is the Bible." I'm like, "Well, that's an easy one."
That's an easy one.
It's an easy
Perfect.
one.
Yeah,
Okay.
perfect.
Grab the book, open it up. Okay. don't think about it. You got to take thinking out of the equation, right?
Mm.
When this
Gotta
works,
let
you
it go.
just
Yeah.
open it up. You just trust the process.
Mhm.
Okay. Trust the process is a huge one, right?
Yeah, it's another good one. Trust the
Faith,
process.
faith,
Yeah.
trust the process. So don't,
Actually, faith for next episode
okay.
because I didn't have any. I do now.
Right.
But
Oh, good. Excellent.
yeah.
So we get her to open up the book. I said, now just where your eyes are drawn to, read it out loud.
Mm.
And what she read, I can't quote it.
No.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
I can't quote that. I'm sorry. But
John
like,
chapter
but
6. Yeah.
basically it was exactly the
What she
thing
needed.
that she needed to do. And on right there and then, probably me holding presence for her is a big part of
Holding
it. I
energy.
think it
Absolutely.
is.
Yeah.
But she just like was able to release and let go of
Mm.
this baggage she was carrying
Hmm.
of guilt
Hmm.
when obviously it
Wow.
wasn't anything to do
It's
with her.
powerful, man.
Yeah.
It's powerful. That is, I'm glad. I'm glad that I could share that with you because
It's a ripple effect, man.
yeah.
Do good things.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Well, look, do you know, you talk about ripple effect, do good things. I you know me, dude. I will do you a favor. I do everyone. And I never, if I do you a favor, do I expect it in return?
I don't know, bro, but I reckon you owe me a favor or two.
I look, yeah, look, at this morning time, yes, yes. The favor tree is in your favor right
If that
now.
existed, of course it
Of
doesn't.
course it
But
doesn't. But
if
if
it
it was
was
if it
real,
was a
yeah,
competition, then you
yeah,
owe me, bastard. Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Right.
yeah,
No, you are right about that. Um, but again, well, here's a good example, right? It doesn't really exist. The time that we had doing this together
yeah.
was worth the time.
Yeah, the thing is, you don't really owe me anything. Like, we are joking. We're
Yeah.
completely joking
Mm.
because I did this out of devotion, not
That's
sacrifice.
right.
If I couldn't be here, I couldn't be here.
Mm.
And if I had time to be devoted to
Yeah.
the room, I
Yeah.
could.
Yeah. And that's what I mean. And we did, it gets to exactly.
So I didn't lose any energy
No.
over it. I gained
Yeah.
energy
We
because
gained,
it's devotion, not
not
sacrifice.
sacrifice. Perfect.
And we learned a lot.
We learned heaps.
We learned that it takes more than a day.
It takes it more than a weekend, yeah, to slap it together. Um, well, again, out of devotion to my students and out of devotion to just wanting people to feel better, I've helped a lot of people. And in a professional sense, and the last few weeks, not in, no, and wasn't intentional, but I called in a few favors,
Hmm.
and people are like, yes,
Hmm.
please, I would love to help you. You changed
Hmm.
everything. You know what I mean? Like, oh, you really
Yeah.
helped me. I'll be more than
You were
happy.
like, have you got $20?
Yeah. You got $5, bro. You got
You
five
got five
dollars,
bucks.
bro. No, but and I was a really humbling experience that I don't call on favors. Because again, I do stuff out of devotion, not sacrifice most
Yeah.
of the time. So it doesn't matter if it doesn't come
Which
back.
is a learned behavior, isn't it?
Very much a learn, but we should probably expand on that. So what do we got? Devotion and sacrifice, and we've got faith. There's a good start to part three.
Okay.
Um, and yeah,
People are going to hold us to that.
oh,
So
it's okay.
better write that down this
I'll
time.
write it down. I'll put it later.
Yeah, later. You're looking for a paper. Look, I
Yeah,
think we're ready to open the book.
we're ready to open. Sorry, just that just to bookend. You know, I helped you help somebody else.
Mm,
I wanted to express gratitude because I've helped some people, and in the last couple of weeks, some people have come to help me,
mm,
and that's cool. And
yeah.
because that was done out of devotion, not sacrifice, everyone gains and nobody
Hmm.
loses. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. What do we got? Let's see what the final word for the night is. Okay. Okay. On the left hand side, until you can understand that nothing can happen to you, nothing can ever come to you or be kept from you, except in accord with your state of consciousness, you do not have the key to life.
Mm.
Unlocking the code, key to life. Anyway, okay, here we go. Amazing. There is no separation between us and God. We are divine expressions of the creative principle. There can be no real lack or scarcity. There is nothing we have to try to achieve or attract. We contain the potential for everything within us. I got nothing. Hey, thank you, brother.
Thanks for having me again.
Much love, man. I Wow. Until next time. Thanks, guys. Cheers.